I am here, you are here, we are here, we're all together. Welcome for the second installment in my look at the One Page Dungeon 2021 contest winners. Going through the winner's circle. In yesterday's stream, we took a place at the grand prize winner and I guess what we would call the first runner-up. Say we'll take a look at a couple other the maps in, I guess, the winner's circle, it's called, other runner-ups. Before I take a look at that directly, I thought something that I touched on yesterday, wasn't sure about, was the judging criteria, how they were judging it. And of course, had I looked, I would have seen that the website has the judging criteria. So I thought let's look at that really quickly before we get into these maps. Let me zoom over there. So we have a page on the One Page Dungeon contest, which is the 2021 One Page Dungeon scoring criteria. And it will, had we submitted a one-page dungeon, it would have been scored using these 5 criteria. First is creativity / originality. Did you submit an original or creative idea? Does your one-page dungeon stand out from other submissions? Have you developed a theme or mood? Art / design. Is the art in your one-page dungeon appealing to look at? Is your layout intuitive and easy to follow? Have you avoided cluttering too much onto the page? Writing / content. Do the words in your submission describe what your one-page dungeon is all about? Does your content also convey story, mood, or theme? Have you avoided spelling and grammar mistakes? There's a couple of spelling or grammar mistakes on this page, but let's move right along. Playability / functionality. Could a game master take your one-page dungeon and realistically run it? Would players be able to meaningfully interact with your one-page dungeon? Can multiple game systems support it? And then finally, personal impression. The most subjective of the categories, this score reflects a judge's personal preference of your work as a whole. And then you can score it. If we were a judge, we could score on each of these criteria from 1 to 5. 1, poor, 5, outstanding. And then the overall winner of the contest will be the dungeon that ranks the highest amongst all the categories from all the judges. The winning circle consists of the overall winner and the next 10, more or less, give or take, highest scoring entries. The judges may increase the size of the winner's circle depending on the quality and quantity of the entries. Judges may also award special designations for entries that excel in each specific judging category. High scoring entries not part of the winning circle may receive honorable mentions. So there we have that. Having read this, it makes sense. I don't know. It's impossible to say without seeing what individual judges scored things. For example, what elevated the zoo dungeon above the bear dungeon, looking at the two that we just had, or that we looked at last week. And of course, we can keep these in mind. We're looking at these other ones where we think they excelled or not. We shall see. And of course, before I forget, hey, kudos to everybody who was able to get together and submit an entry. That's impressive. And obviously, even more kudos to those who scored with the judges well enough to be included in the winner's circle. All right, so that's all we need to look at with the scoring. Let me now get the PDF back. I've already got it there we go. Preset to the next dungeon on our list, which is entitled Escape of the Torment. Can your party stop the pirates before they escape? A first-tier adventure ready to drop into your campaign by Brett Simison at mooselich.com. Something I like right there is they have identified the tier. And the whole thing with tiering, it's kind of based on, there were always kind of tiers, but I think it became more codified in the later versions of the game, and definitely something that seems to be something that people are fairly aware of in, say, 5th edition of the, first, I think we think about 4 or 5 tiers, and someone can correct me if I'm off. Basically, 1st to 4th level, then 4th to 8th level, 8th to 12th, and then 12th to 16th, and then 16th to 20th, somewhere in there. Some division of the entire game cut up into these different, from low level all the way to high level, epic tier, epic play, right? Epic characters, those level 20, super high level characters. So I kind of like that they self-defined this as, hey, this is a low level dungeon. Okay, let's get into it. We have a progress tracker with a number of combat rounds, and then something underneath it for the ship speed. I guess we'll have to see how that comes into play. A nice map, at least my first impression looking at it. It's a pretty map. We've got some kind of entranceway into it looks like a cavern. I kind of get a Goonies vibe for that in a sense. Seems like there's a hidden dock in a cavern that leads out to sea. So at one end, there's an open cavern mouth, presumably at least into deeper waters. It seems like that's all water out there. It comes into this cavern. Several docks have been set up. There's a waterfall from some underground river that leads here. There are 2 ledges. It's not clear how high up the ledges are above the water, but there are ledges on either side of this waterfall. The party is going to come into this. If the ledges, there's one is on the north side, one is on the south side. The water runs west to east. There's a ship that is docked at the docks that are on the southern side of these hidden docks. The party would enter, I believe, in the northern side. Probably the first thing, it's a small thing, but maybe put an arrow. So there's clearly one path that kind of comes from off the map into, and it's also where the first area is located, but you could just put a nice arrow in there. Something to indicate, hey, this is where the party's coming in. It's not the only entry. It's presumably the party could come floating down the lazy river, down the waterfall, I guess. But assuming they come from the land passage, the first thing we'll see is an alarm trap. Concealed pressure plate on the floor, DC 17 investigation, that activates a silent alarm. If triggered, notifies guards in area 5, which is in the southern part of the map, to detonate black powder barrels near the entrance and activate the ship launcher. Okay, so it's so we have some right away. We have some pretty hefty complications. One thing I know is that they do mark it off as a DC 17 check. So this is obviously geared towards D20, 5th edition, at least a D20 system game. I wonder if they wanted to keep it more open to any system, just say whether it's hard, easy, average, maybe something like that. That way you could moderate challenge. So, you could mention something like that, which would make it more easily transferable from one system to the other. Because DC 17, I'm guessing that's kind of tough. Pretty difficult, I think. I kind of think of 17, at least in the D20 sense, as being somewhat tough. Someone can let me know if that is not the case. It's not super difficult, but I think it's on the more difficult side. So if they don't see that spot, work their way around it, that's going to let everybody know. Now, the guards have to come. I can't see. So 5-foot squares. So they do have some squares here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The guards do have to make their way all the way across the one ledge, over the bridge, over this area here. That's the next area you would come to that have these black powder barrels. It seems like the party will get to those black powder barrels way before those guards were, unless I'm misunderstanding where those guards are supposed to be. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure how that's supposed to work. I wonder, why would you put the guards so far away from the alarm and the alarm system. So something I had missed originally. Hey, Tonga Todd, that font and size of the text, I would think, makes it hard to read around the pick. I mean, yeah, it's one of the things that I mentioned this last time. I don't know how these would seem on a piece of paper printed out. On the PDF, the readability is pretty good. I'm not fine. I mean, I got to wear glasses just because my sight is kind of going. But even without my glasses, I can fairly see that pretty well. Now, if I'd had it printed out, I'm not sure. But it's a one-page dungeon, so you're trying to cram in a lot of stuff. So I'm more willing to forgive shrinking down the font some if it means being able to get in what you're getting, what you need to get in. And it doesn't seem too small. But of course, that's going to be your miles may vary kind of thing, right? It doesn't seem too small for me. It doesn't mean it is not too small for someone else. So the one thing that immediately comes to mind is you have to end up reading section 1 and section 2 together to get the full sense of how that trap's going to work. Because here we have the alarm trap at 1, and it just says, okay, the guards are going to detonate the black powder barrels too. The guards from 5, are going to detonate the black powder barrels too and activate the launcher at 8. Now, if I don't read the second section about the black powder barrels, if I go to read the guards, read section 1, oh, okay, alarm trap, the guards are going to come. I go down, I find the guards. Well, they're way down there. Posted there to monitor and deal with intruders. Okay, well, the intruders are here. They're going to do those barrels. They're going to have to run all the way over there to do those, to hit those, to light those barrels on fire, which I was just saying, that seems like a hard ask given that the party, unless they just stop and spend an interminable amount of time examining the trap that they've already set off, party's going to get there first. If I go down to the second one now, I get the damage from the barrels. And then now I get that, they're detonating with flaming crossbow bolts from the guards or sailors on the boat. But why shouldn't that be up front? Right? Tell me this whole bit about the trap and the explosion, what it does, and where I really need it. By splitting it up like that, it forces me to hit 3 different pieces of information and kind of put it together. And if I was just running this, I might not get to reading the black powder barrel part until the party gets to the black powder barrels. And if I've read down the guards and I start putting the guards in motion, they're running, then the party gets to the barrels, then I have to come back. And then they think, okay, now the guys are going to stop and try to shoot. It's a little bit, excuse me. I just think it's a little bit inefficient. I could see it being a little bit easy to lose the thread. And I just noticed I forgot there's an intro here. So let me read the intro because I should have seen this first, but I just one of those things that just reading left to right, the first room description comes first. So the intro is, a party of adventurers followed a pair of drunken bragging outlaws from the local tavern and discovered the secret entrance to the coastal cavern where pirates keep their ship, the Torment, and unload their stolen wares. The entrance is trapped with an alarm trap that silently alerts the brigands to intruders. Once triggered, the pirates activate a ship launcher that hauls the Torment from the cavern for a quick getaway. Begin counting rounds as soon as the party trips the silent alarm, or if they avoided the trap, once they are spotted inside the cavern. The ship escapes after 8 rounds. And that's where that... So you're supposed to do everything basically in rounds, which means everything's going to be going very fast. I don't see the mechanism for this launcher here, so I'm not sure what that launcher is supposed to look like. Oh, wait a minute. Maybe I do. Is that 8? Oh, okay. It's that. I still don't quite know how that works. As I see some kind of rope tied to a thing. I don't know if that rope is supposed to then pull. I can't see how the thing, the rope, the ship launcher is going to work. I don't know if it ends up being important or not. Depending on what the party tries to do, it could maybe Oh, wait a minute. Here we go. Here's the description. So let me do the description of the ship launcher, since that's going to potentially become important. Excuse me. A boulder hangs from a truss 105 feet above the cavern floor. A rope runs from this boulder to a series of pulleys attached to a sea stack outside and then returns to the bow of the ship. When activated, the boulder falls and launches a torment into the sea for quick getaways. Okay, so we do have that stuff. All right, so it's an interesting race against the clock. So we got to the alarm trap. I imagine more parties often than not are going to hit the alarm trap, which is going to cause a race against time as the ship starts to pick up speed. And let me look at this. From the back of the boat to the end of the cavern is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. So till the end of the page is 30, 30 squares, which would mean that if Comet Round stuff goes, they hit the launcher, the boat, let's give them the next round. Boat starts to move. That next round, 10 feet. Second round, it's now 20 feet. So I counted 30 squares, right? So that's actually 150 feet. So we got, see if is it 10 feet, 20 feet, 35 feet, 50 feet, 65 feet, 85 feet, 105 feet, 125 feet. Hey, Frederick Ork, morning. How are you? Or afternoon, as it is in my world. He likes this ship map. Yep. Is nice. It definitely looks nice. Okay, so and basically this is pretty accurate. So the end of the ship is going to basically be the end of the map after 8 rounds. It could have been, I could have just seen using squares to make it easier, but feet is fine. Feet is good. Only reason I would say squares is because you're going to be counting, just saves me having to count them out. In fact, if they could have put some kind of meter or ruler on here and just say, hey, round 1, round 2, round 3, round 4, round 5, that would have been cool too. But it's still cool. So the essentially you have to imagine either right away or within a round or two, you're going to be literally rounds away. So you're going to be running this entire thing in the combat round using initiative, presumably all the way through, regardless of really whether the party is discovered or not, simply because of that, the timing. And that's what I like to tell my group, because I will use initiative in non-combat situations. And what I will tell my group is, hey, timing's a factor. What you're doing, who's doing what, when is important. So we go from that kind of free flow where people can just chime in stuff and do stuff, say, oh, well, I'm going to do this while they're doing that. No, I'm going to do this. And oh, can I do this first? Sure. When it comes to things where it's like time is important, then I'm going to say, okay, roll initiative. We're going to go in turn order. So if you want to do something, you want to hold actions, you got to figure it out. And it's not necessarily because you're fighting, but it's because time is of the essence. So I would certainly, once they hit that trap, maybe even before they hit that trap, to say, hey, this is, though it gives away some of the tension if you do it before they hit the trap, is timing's important. So we're going to roll initiative. And then if they don't hit the trap, then potentially, I suppose potentially it could be free flowing until somebody spots them. But certainly once somebody spots them, it's on. So we got the alarm trap. We got the black powder barrels. I finally gave read the intro that sets up the scenario, which I probably would have read first. Though I think maybe I would have tried to move things around so that I see that first as opposed to the alarm trap first, but no big deal. We have black powder barrels that are being set off, and it looks like there's 2 sets of these black powder barrels. I don't understand the use of the barrels that are far to the east So you come in the northwest, and there's a ribbon of this this ledge you're on that goes to the east, and at the not at the very furthest eastern point, but pretty close to there is another set of these two barrels that presumably the bandits are going to blow up. I don't know what they're supposed to do. I suppose with the 20-foot radius, yeah, maybe because there's another dock there by that second set of barrels. It would just touch that dock maybe. But if I'm the party, why am I running all the way out there when the most direct way is to try to run across the bridge? I suppose if I miss the bridge, because there is apparently, we go south, we hit a bridge going across this waterfall, and that bridge is trapped. It's a bridge with rotten and new boards. The latter are pre-cut and will collapse. Another investigation check, DC 15, deck save 15, or dropped into the waterfall. So you can spend an investigation check to find it, or you're going to have to make a dex save, or you can be dropped. This is one where I like the old school idea where I would say roll some die for each person and on, say, a 1 or 2, because not, they'll hit a rotten log, because not all the logs are rotten, and I making everybody roll a dex save seems to indicate that you're all potentially hitting them. I suppose but I guess I kind of like the fact that it's not just the very dexterous people who don't hit them, but you just could get lucky and not hit a rotten plank. But that's just me. So if you get dunked in the drink, there is a rowboat nearby. You could try to climb aboard that, or supposedly you could maybe even swim if you're lightly armored or not armored at all. You could potentially swim to the boat, especially if for some reason the bandits haven't seen you yet. We keep following that ledge. We get to an area that does have rowboats. Each rowboat has 2 of them. Each rowboat can carry 2 medium creatures, and you can row at 15 feet per turn, which means that it's only going to be useful to you, really, for the first couple of rounds if the launcher has been launched. Because after round 3, it's going at least 15 feet per round. Well, I guess it's going 15 feet per round. I guess around 4. I guess it's round 6. So you'd have till round 6. But really, if it's already started moving and you haven't gotten those rowboats yet, you're not going to be able to catch up much. So you really got to get to those fast. Because if it's already moving, if you fall behind, you can't catch up very much. And then if you're in rounds 3 plus, then it's going faster. It's going at least as fast as you are, so you can't catch up. So that's kind of an early part of your strategy. You got to get to that boat early, the rowboat, that is. Beyond the rowboats, we're moving along the southern ledge, is what I'm calling it. There are the bandits, 2 of them, posted a DA to monitor and deal with intruders. Presumably they're the ones I think they are supposed to be the ones that shoot the black powder barrels, though it doesn't say that with their entry here. I think it probably should say it in both places. That way, regardless of what I read, I can get the gist of that. So they obviously have crossbows, which they don't mention here in the description, but they're mentioned in how they deal with the barrels. And I'm guessing at this point, there's no reason why they wouldn't see you unless you're really able to hide and be stealthy and you haven't fallen in the drink, broken the bridge, done anything like that, gotten the rowboats. Beyond them, there's some other another explosive barrels. Beyond that, there's some more guards, and then the ship launcher. And then on the ship proper, they have cannons that are loaded with grape shot, 60-10 piercings, pretty nasty. Requires 3 actions to load, aim, and fire. I like that. They're not saying how many rounds it takes, but you need at least 3 people, because they could time their actions. 1 load, 1 aim, 1 fire. So you could do it all in 1 round, but you need 3 of the sailors to do it. And let's see, what else we have on the Torment itself. We've got the measurements for the sailing ship. It's given a hull, armor class, and hit points, as well as the sails. We talked about the ship launcher. We got the progress tracker that measures the speed of the launcher. 12 bandits and 1 bandit captain. Excuse me. And that is it. So it's pretty simple. It almost feels less like a dungeon and more like an encounter. I mean, not to say that, oh, it shouldn't have been this. This shouldn't be in the one-page dungeon contest. It should be in the one-page encounter contest. But that's just how I feel about it. It has a nice mix of enemies and traps. I guess it feels a little bit. I'm going to say it does feel a little bit video gamey with sort of the exploding barrels, just kind of put in places. That feels like something that's very much out of a video game. You know, where you're running around the warehouse and there are barrels you can break and find stuff in. And there's some reason there's red barrels, and you know that if you hit the red barrels or your opponents hit the red barrels, they're going to explode. And they're put in some spots that I don't know make huge strategic sense. I get the first number of barrels, but I kind of think if you're going to do that, why not put all the barrels there, cause a huge explosion, and just then rely on the ship launcher, or better yet, blow the bridge trap and then put the other barrels on the one rowboat that's on the northern side so that they can't blow up that rowboat, or maybe not even have the rowboat on that side. I don't know what purpose it serves. And do that. I just think there are probably better defensive strategies than what these guys have picked, which again gives that kind of video game feel in which your adversaries are not necessarily acting in the smartest way. You know, or the other thing would be, oh, hey, there are guys coming, they hit the alarm trap. Oh, okay, let's aim the grape shot and send 60-10 piercing at them, and probably that will blow up. That might blow up the alarm trap also, or load some other kind of exploding cannon shot or something else that will definitely blow up the barrels. They got a lot of firepower there, right? And they've sort of put it in a way which, yeah, they've given you those weapons, but then they're relying on these kind of video gamey kind of tricks. I do like the idea of the ship launcher. I like how there's the potential for the party to race over there and cut the launcher before the ship can get out. It doesn't say what the ship does if the launcher is cut, or does it? No, it doesn't. So if the ship can't get away, so if you're in, say, round 4 and the ship is going those 15 feet per round, 3 squares, the party gets over there and they cut the launcher, what happens? Yeah, you're in a cavern still, so I'm imagining there's no wind. Your ship is not going to come to a dead stop right away. It's got some inertia, go a little bit further, and then what do the bandits do? Can they get to some oars? Can they try to row? What happens? So I wouldn't mind knowing kind of a little bit more about, well, what happens if the party gets to the launcher, if they spot it, if they get to it. It seems to be a little bit of a presumption that they're not going to get there, which makes sense because the launcher's all the way at the far southern eastern end. So they really would have to race over there. But I like it. Good job, Brett Simonson or Simonson. Apologies if I've got your name wrong. That is Escape of the Torment. All right. This is what I stumbled on yesterday. Had to back away, but I'm back to it now. Pizza Quest. I mean, you got to give these guys an A for the novelty, right? It just, what an amazing look. Nothing I can really say about it. It looks really great. Like anyone's ever seen a sort of small neighborhood pizza menu. I mean, it's just got a great vibe to it. I can't even really look at this and have any idea what it's about. So let's just start reading in here and we'll see. Surrounded by the deep dish mountains, covered in a golden Parmesan desert, flowing with rivers of molten marinara, among the thick broccoli forests and steamy spinach swamps, topped with artisanal danger, a flavor of adventure awaits. Pizza Quest, created by Jesse Dryden. All right. So a wonderful, evocative intro. It looks like this pizza is a map. So it's a pizza with one slice missing, but there's a little bit of crust kind of in the middle of where the missing piece would be, sort of in the middle of where the outer rim of crust. There's just a center bit of that crust remaining. The rest is gone. Looks like now that is the map. So is area 1, is that starting on the pizza box? I guess we'll have to see. So the map regions are basically listed like menu items. So the first area, which on the map, it's outside of that missing piece in the pizza box area. Tonka Todd says, so far I'm loving the initial pitch of this pizza quest. A great visual. Yep, it is a really good visual. Absolutely. All right, so area 1, which is listed as part of Pizzatopia. So it's listed like these are menu items on this menu, but it's this area is called The Stale, a flat, grease-stained wasteland, devoid of flavor, difficult to survive. And that is analogous with the pizza box, the interior of the pizza box. 2 is the Cornicine Isle, remnants of the 8th slice, a crusty place from where few ever return. So there's a little bit of crust. 3rd, it's basically if you were to follow the empty slice to the center of the pie, that's where you'd hit, you get to the Mozzarella Ruins, the ancient center of the 7 kingdoms, considered to be haunted. And then the 4th area would be the where the pizza cutter cut the slices, so that little division between the slices of the pie are known as the Great Divides, one of the many hazardous deep canyons that separate the kingdoms. Now, if we were going to follow this, from that, if we put the missing slice at, I don't know, what would it be, 1, 2 o'clock? And where we're going to go, I guess, kind of 3, 4. So basically 4:30 to 5:30ish, or 4:30 to 5:30ish, that slice down there. It's called the Pepperopolis, sizzling centers of fat commerce for spice trade and meat markets. Gotta love fat commerce. I'm not sure what fat commerce is, but I like it. I like the sound of that. Then the next slice over, moving clockwise, would be Fungi Village, home to the myceliums, kind and humble people who harvest yeast. And then underneath that, we have an NPC named Mr. Button, a simple fungi farmer. He will greet and guide visitors, warn them of dangers, and that the refrigeration is coming. Yeah, there's only a certain amount of time right before you get into the fridge, or presumably the oven or toaster oven, which I like to do sometimes if I know I'm going to eat pizza the next morning or soon after. I will throw it in the oven. I find the oven or sometimes toaster ovens can be pretty. They can have good insulation. All right, now we have an appetizer section. So this is divided in a trifold. So we just read through the leftmost of the trifold columns, if you will. The center column, titled Appetizer. Pizzatopia was a fresh-baked, warm land, once ruled by the benevolent Queen Margherita. All were welcomed at the round table in the central city of Mozzarella. It is unknown how it was destroyed, when the world divided and became the 7 slices. Now each kingdom is ruled separately with their own secret recipe for Pizza Quest. By the slice, the primos of Pizzatopia. So these are, I presume, are the rulers of these 7 kingdoms, though they're not listed in any way to say which one of the slices they correspond to. So I suppose you could put them wherever you like. Count Basil Provolone orders you to deliver the sacred one to the Cornicine Isle, or Cornicine. I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce that, so apologies for my ignorant butchery. Duchess Paprika Gruyere requests you steal for her the rare artichoke heart. And then Chief Fennel Asiago invites you in the hunt of the elusive spinach witch, maybe to the hunt. Grand Magus Oregano Fontina finds any excuse to throw you in their dungeon. Empress Rosemary Barada sends you into the deep dish mountains for a cure. Guru Majorum Feta successfully persuades you into joining their cult. Baroness Sage Ricotta bribes or blackmails you to assassinate another ruler. All right, so we get some nice. I don't know if I'm okay. Look, I love the theming. Right, the theming is crazy, and it's amazing. I like that each of the rulers has some quest line. It's obviously just the merest hint, right? It's just the hook. You're gonna have to figure out all that other stuff yourself. I do like they give you one. Not so keen on the ones that they just say, hey, they persuade you. Like, give me a test. Maybe they'll try to persuade me. Maybe something else. Obviously I'll have to place these on the map myself. I think I would have liked it if they would just said where these are in relation to another. Which ones are neighbors with which? Do I presume that the Count Basil Provolone is next door neighbors to Duchess Paprika Gruyere? I don't know. What is the Spinach Witch and where is it? Who has the artichoke heart? I would love to know if one of the other rulers is supposed to have it. Those kind of relationships would be nice. But it's a lot of fun. Underneath that, we're still in the center fold. The Big Cheese. The greatest threat to Pizzatopia is the dark harbinger known as the Neapolitan. The sorceress knight is armed with the legendary slicer and the power of the black olive, able to summon an army of moldy undead from the crust. Determined to divide the world, they will hunt anyone across the 7 slices in 40 minutes or less. Spoilers, the Neapolitan is actually Queen Margarita seeking revenge for her something. Her death? It's her. I don't know. That's weird. Unfortunately, they put the knight in front of the box, the text box, rather. So I don't know. So I guess just she's seeking revenge. Is she seeking revenge? She's really the knight in disguise. I like the power of the black olives. Great stuff. So we have this primary threat, this ultimate antagonist roaming the pie, killing all. And then now we're on the right fold. Extra toppings. Veggie attack. These green gourmet capsicum impose dietary restrictions with farm fresh aggression. Try pesto before it gets you. So funny. It looks like he's got it looks like the Jolly Green Giant, it was more of an ogre and not very jolly, and it's holding a stem of broccoli as a club. Beneath that, behold garlic. Impossible to avoid the toxic breath and bitter gaze of this pungent predator who roasts its victims alive in olive oil. Nicely done. And then tropical plunder. Pork Rider Pineappalachians unsavory raiders attack with sun-dried tomato armor and smoked sardines. Also awesome. And the art is great because it's got this what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of lo-fi, just the kind of thing that you could imagine a pizza place, a local neighborhood pizza place, cut pasting into some kind of clip arty but weird art that they would use. Spice it up. 2 words, jalapeno dragon. And then beware the pizza zombies. They bite back. All right, so this is great. It's very light on anything gameable. You're really going to have to take this and do a lot with it. I mean, I don't really have much to say. I mean, I think that it's so flavorful, right? It's hard. It's hard for me to. I couldn't have this be the absolute winner of a contest like this because I don't think it's technically. I don't know how close you're supposed to be to what a dungeon means. I have it hard to find this is a dungeon in anywhere near the sense of the term, and there's really. It's almost more. It's kind of a micro setting with its own implied system that we need to develop, but it's got so much character. It's so fun. It's so inventive that I would definitely want to reward it in some way. I don't know. I don't know how usable it is. I think if I was running something, a really light system like Rhesus or Rhesus, you could probably mock something up to go with this. But it would need a lot of work, but it's just so much fun, right? How can you hate on Pizza Quest? You really can't. And kudos to them, because it is an amazing idea, though in sort of at least immediate usability and functionality, and it seems to be kind of stretching the concept of what a dungeon is. I guess it has a map and you can move along the map, but that's I mean, would a hex crawl, because it really seems like this is more of a hex crawl, would a hex crawl count in a one-page dungeon? I don't know. It's not my call to make, but it's great. I applaud all the character about Pizza Quest. What doth the chat have to say? Hey, Lincoln, I got a very similar brochure for Mothership called Chunky Cheese's Pizza. Roll charts for how the animatronic animal band reacts and things. Oh, that's awesome. That is great. I mean, that's one where it's so vague on the system. I mean, it has no system, right? That we just looked at. The other one we looked at before this about the ship had essentially enough trappings where you could see, okay, it's kind of a D20 system. That one had literally no system, and not even any concepts of not giving you any insight into really how you're supposed to run it or play it or do it. It's just kind of throwing out. Like I said, I think of more as that's a one-page micro setting, and with an implied weird system attached to it. So it's a little bit of your miles may vary and how you consider that a one-page dungeon. And I think it does stretch the concept of both a dungeon and both what it means to be usable. But like I said, it's got so much character that even if I couldn't necessarily give it a prize, or for that, I'd want to reward it with some kind of accolades just due to the amazing nature of it. This one, so looks like we're gonna get at least 3 in this time, which is an improvement over the first stream, called Live and Let Dice. I think I'm reading this the right way. This one kind of has you going. You're supposed to read, I guess, the right column, and then. Okay, I love that. So it's got the kind of James Bond, that looking through the barrel of a gun in the center, which is great, with 2 white columns on the sides. My initial problem is I have to figuring out how to read it is immediately a little bit of a challenge. We have the title on the right side, so presumably I'm going to read the right side first, and then I guess the left other white column on the other side, and then the middle, which is a little bit odd. And then the other ones that you have to turn. So everything's kind of printed within the if we think of the spiral of the rifling in this barrel, each one is printed so that you have to turn your head or turn the page, which is probably certainly not ideal for me trying to read this. I don't know if I love having to spin the page around to get all the elements. I don't even know how I'm going to do this, because I might have to exit the full screen view and then turn it, which is automatically. I don't think it's necessary, because it doesn't seem like you're saving space. I don't know. I'd probably want to make it work so I can just read it all, either landscape, or if you want to do it, what's the opposite of landscape? Letter, landscape, portrait, where it's whatever. I just want to let me pick one paper orientation and go with that. And if you're not going to do that, then it really has to be important why. And I'm not sure this is going to get there, but let's see. Live and Let Dice. Good morning, Agent 00D6+1. A little joke there. The Prime Minister has chosen you and your team for this critical mission. The security of our country depends on your success. Here are your sealed orders detailing the mission objectives. Open them after you've spoken to the quartermaster about your special equipment. All right, that's a very fun opening. Got a little yuckity yuck on the 00D6+1. Note to the GM, this adventure offers multiple options and random variables to be decided up front. Roll 1d4 to determine which of the 4 settings to use and rotate the map accordingly. Then roll 00d6 plus 1 on the gadget and villain list to determine the mission details. The GM and the party can have collaborative fun figuring out how the villain fits with the particular mission. Okay, so at least in this case, the rotating the map has a purpose. So that's good to know, because that was going to be immediately annoying. But just the way that's set up, it makes more sense now and at least has a utility, but still it's kind of aggravating just in a digital way to use, because I can read 3 of the 4. The fourth one is the one that's completely upside down. I don't know if I'll get that one. Tunkatod says, I don't understand why anyone would go through the trouble to write an adventure, then sacrifice ease of use for catchy design. Well, I understand in this case, because that's part of the contest. That's kind of part of the thing, right? If you might have missed it at the very front of this stream, so you can go back and check it out later, I did go through and look at the judging criteria because I wanted to understand what people were shooting for with their submissions. And I think a third or a fourth or a fifth, let me see, hold on, just because it's easier to pull up here. You're judged on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 elements. 1 is creativity / originality. 2 is art and design. And then 3, personal impression. And the other ones are writing content and playability / functionality. But you can see that 3 out of the 5 are arguably about the look of the final product. And 2 of them are on the content and the playability. But they're all given the same amount of weight. So if you nail the heck out of creativity / originality, art / design, and you strongly register with someone on their personal impression, that is what, if you were to score 5 on all of those, that would be 5, 10, 15, 20. And then if you score middling on the other ones, you're still doing better. So you're more likely in this kind of contest, the way it is configured, at least it seems to be, that you're going to get people who go design first rather than, say, usability first. So I'm not going to say it's unfortunate. It's a choice. People want to make eye-catching things. I think you're going to get more people invested when they're trying to figure out how to make a neat design. I do think there is a point where that design gets too far. Whether this one does that or not, who's to say? We're going to go through it. The map seems really kind of funky to me. We'll have to just see how that looks. If we can decipher it. But that's kind of the contest. So I get it, right? It's just do like, hey, the most usable dungeon you can make on a page. Probably not going to get a lot of design people's interest to that, or maybe you will. I don't know, but whatever. That's just how they've designed it. If we want to make our own contest, we can make one that puts usability. It would be great to have a contest. Maybe if I get enough community and get enough support to do a contest about 1-page dungeons that you can just run with the dungeon, something like that, right? 1-page dungeon that literally is runnable. You can run right there and make that one of the criteria. Is could I just take this dungeon, print it out, take it to my friend's house with some dice, and say, let's play? How close can you get to that ideal? Which is something that I think is not, I don't know if I want to say important, because you don't always need to have something at the last minute. Usually you'll have some time to go over and go through things, but that might be, if I was going to pick an ideal dungeon, it'd be one that, like, oh gosh, I forgot my notebook. Let me run and print this off, or let me pull this up on my iPad and just run it, right? And a lot of these wouldn't score that well on that particular criteria, but to be fair, it's not part of their criteria. Okay, back to Live and Let Dice. We've got some gadgets you can get. X-ray glasses, garrote watch, incendiary cigarettes, EMP dice, sonic cufflinks, and adhesive homing patch. I'm not going to read all through those, but we all get the sense they're great, very thematic, Bond-ish things that you can take with you. Then we have on the other side, we get some villains. We would roll up 1 villain, right? Yeah, so we would roll up gadget and villain lists. Okay, so one thing I don't know is every agent supposed to get a gadget? I'm not sure. Unknown as to whether everyone's supposed to get a gadget or just one, or just there's just supposed to be one gadget. I guess we'll have to read further and see if we get some more information on that one. On to the villains. We get Anton Silvertoe, owner of some of the world's most productive silver mines. His plan involves holding hostage developed Western economies to force them to return to the silver currency standard, thus enriching himself. Okay, that's pretty funny. If you know your Bond, I'm sure you will enjoy that first one particularly. Dr. Christoph Karloff has replaced high-ranking officials, military and civilian, with sophisticated robots to collect intel and sabotage the government/company smooth operations. His grudge is based on a project being canceled due to cutbacks. Andrei Volkich, an aged general from a former Eastern Bloc state, has a loyal crew of mercenaries looking to consolidate his power by taking over a city on the Don River and disrupting trade. Diego Al-Habsi has developed a deadly neurotoxin that, once injected, lies dormant in the body until alcohol is consumed. He's looking for the best way to spread it. Duchess Stephanie Satin plans to cause catastrophic flooding in the Netherlands to save the world. She wants to use the submerged areas to build thousands of aquaponic farms to feed the world. And Dr. Eva de Evra, CFO of a large defense contractor, she's secretly been siphoning millions into slush accounts to finance international terrorism, thus driving up demand for his company's ordnance. All right, there you go. Some fun villains. Some Bond puns, and we're going to get some more puns here as we look at the first of these maps. If we rolled a 1, which I guess is that we'd be looking at the map the way the page is, so we're kind of looking at it as if we were playing map number 1. There's a mole at MI6 headquarters, and you're the only ones who can find them. We suspect that evidence of the mole is in the deputy director's office. They might even be the mole, but it could be anywhere. Whichever villain you rolled will be the mole in disguise. The aesthetic is upper crust office with nice carpet, wood paneling, and solid wood doors. I like that to give you kind of an aesthetic and overall theming of the place. And then the rooms, we've got deputy director's office. So here's maybe something that's confusing. So in these rooms, I'm going to zoom in here because I need to see it. I think I can zoom in here more, right? Can I? There we go. All right, but that's all right. Let's do this. So these rooms all have, so it's very much a maze-like set of rooms and corridors. I don't see anything listed with doors. I don't really know what to make of that. Then each one of these rooms, there's a crosshair symbol with a bunch of numbers inside. I don't, hard for me to say what that's supposed to mean. So, excuse me. So if I'm looking at it, I'm just kind of taking a guess here because we don't get a full explanation or really any explanation of how the map is supposed to work. I suppose they're meaning that, hey, this should be self-explanatory. Ooh, maybe not. I noticed at one point, just as maybe a little aesthetic thing, some of the crosshairs kind of go outside the bounds of some of the corridors, which I might not want to have that. I'm guessing that we're supposed to look at the crosshair that matches the direction of the map. So in this case, I'm looking at the map, the numbers that are up, that look normal, or I guess not sideways and not inverted, are the numbers we're supposed to use. Now, there's one problem with that. I can already see there's room 9, and I guess it doesn't matter, but it's room 9 and 6, and it appears as 9 and 9. 9 and then the inverted 9 that would be a 6, but it's 9 to us, which is a little bit weird. It doesn't really matter because it's showing 9 anyway, but I might have tried to avoid naming those the same. There's no evidence of doors, which is also weird. Are we just supposed to imagine that all the doors... But there is doors to every room from every other room that have matching, or that walls connect, but we don't. Some of these cases, the doors, there are some long rooms that connect along their long walls. So where's the door? Maybe it doesn't really matter, but it would be nice to know. So we get a deputy director's office, a conference room, a commissary, agent's gym and locker room, firearms training, director's office, open bullpen for intelligence gathering, restrooms, a war room. And then there's a special note. The mole constantly is moving through headquarters, but doesn't quite know where everything is yet. And then as far as encounters, we get dozens of trained spies work in this building. They are unaware of the mole and might interpret your actions as treasonous that might subdue the party and hold them captive. Now we can flip it, and we would get to another scenario called Tomorrow Never Dice. So this is what I would say first of all. Okay, we don't have doors. It's a little bit confusing. I guess we're just supposed to play it by ear, but it would be nice. There's no description. So I'm going to enter, say, room 6 is the director's office. The director's office borders a hallway on 2 sides, and there's another room. I guess it's also the director's office. It's sort of a half circle room. It almost feels like it would be a balcony or something that's there. They're both labeled 6, so presumably they're both part of the director's office. Is that supposed to mean that wall isn't there? What does that look like? So give me some doors. Give me some doors. I don't know what the aesthetic's supposed to be, but give me some doors. I don't have any sense of the scale of these either. I don't know how big these rooms are. I can start to guess. For example, the hallways I'm going to guess are 5 feet wide. So then I can kind of guess that, okay, at least on the width, I could start to kind of count and do that. But I wouldn't have minded just some indication of sizing. And also, I don't think these maps need to be flipping around, because how often am I going to play this? Who's going to remember this map if I were to come to this and say, hey, you know what? Every month in between our regular sessions, we're going to come and we're going to play something from here. You could really just change the entrance, have several different entrances. No one's going to remember the layout of these things, especially when the rooms change. Who's going to remember? So what purpose is it? Especially, and it doesn't tell you that I can think of where you come in. So for your dice only, you come in, the room number 1 is deputy director's office, which has, in this one has, so the first room listed is deputy director's office. And trying to find out which room that is kind of tough, because one, the way the font is, it's kind of hard, especially when it's smaller. You're looking at it to tell if it uses a lot of ones. And if, for example, one of these maps has ones all for 3 rooms, which I guess means it's just supposed to be one big room. But now I can see where the deputy director's office is for your dice only. That does not seem to be the room that you would enter in. I imagine the room you'd want to enter in is where? There's no entryway. We have a director's office, a conference room, a commissary, a gym and locker room, firearms training, the director's office, open bullpen for intelligence gathering, restrooms, and a war room. Where's the entranceway? Give me an entrance. So this seems to be one where it definitely, it's got a lot of flavor, but usability is kind of poor. And I think that the rotating map is cute, but unnecessary for multiple reasons. And it's a little, their map is a little bit too esoteric, I feel like, than it needs to be. It's kind of like they had this cute idea of, oh, look, we'll scramble the room numbers around, but I don't like it. I would rather have the room numbers stay the same, and then just have a note, hey, you're going to enter into room 8, and here are the names of the rooms. Great. Better. I guess so we're coming up to the end. I don't feel like I need to go through the other 3 variations. We already kind of get what they're about. I'm sure they're going to have different atmosphere. What do they say about tomorrow? Tomorrow Never Dice, which is a great play on words. A well-funded terrorist cell has commandeered a classified U.S. Defense Department Black Ops space station. The station contains a powerful anti-missile laser. Eliminate the terrorists and destroy the laser, which is great. Still, I don't know if you get a sense of where you'd enter the place. Oh, 6. Airlock to shuttle, but is that you arriving or where you're supposed to maybe get off to if you can get out? So interesting idea. It's very novel. I'm starting to get the sense that novelty is going to mean a lot in this. Novelty and design are going to be the things, because like I mentioned, that's right. There's 5 criteria. 3 of them are going to be linked to what people find personally kind of striking and resonate with them, which more often than not is going to be something I think on the visuals, so design, and then creativity and design basically. So I'm getting a sense this one really went into the novelty of the rotating map, and the it's got great theme. The theme is great, and I noticed there was no I didn't see. Oh, there it is. I was going to say I didn't see the author listed, but it's by Brandon Dingus at goblinsandgrowlers.com. I really dig the theming. I like the bondness of it all. I'm not a fan of that map and the kind of weird esoteric map. I'm not a fan of having to rotate the page, especially because I don't think it's going to be meaningful in this kind of situation. I just don't see myself needing to rotate that map. Just one version of the map that's keyed, and you can have the one key and just have each of the different scenarios change the rooms and change the entries and exits is kind of all I need. I don't need, it's too complicated. It's just extra complications for nil gain, in my opinion, and it just makes it more confusing. And please put some doors, put some features on it. I get that they don't want to have features, I guess, because of the different scenarios, but you can either have some fun with that in the way different things mean, but we just need one map. But it's definitely got a clever theme, and I think that's going to be the theme of this contest, is going to be the cleverness of the theme and that sort of thing, as opposed to, or the ingenuity, I guess, of the design, novelty, and maybe the usability parts are going a little bit to the side. This one, I would say, on the originality thing, would be fairly high for me, probably more than the pirate ship, more than the bear. The zoo is fairly original as a spot too, and I think the pizza one is highly original. So there you have it. So we've gone through now 3. You guys in the chat, let me know in the comments, should I keep going? Should I read through all of them? Is this enough of a taste of what's in the winner circle of these entries? You guys, I'm here for you. You let me know if you'd like me to keep going through these. If you feel like I've gone through, we've seen enough, let me know. That's all I got for now. I got to bail out here, but that was 3 more dungeons from the winner's circle of the one-page dungeon contest 2021. Before you bounce out, give the thumbs up to the stream if you haven't done that already. And if you're in here and you're not subscribed, subscribe. Please help me out. Helps you out. You'll get notified when I do all this fun stuff that I do every day. Hey, everybody, thanks for hanging out and joining, going through these dungeons with me. Like I said before, let me know if I should keep going, if I should go back. It's kind of nice to take a little bit of a break from the Logan's Run project to sort of reset, let those creative juices flow. I'm happy to keep doing more of these. I've always got the Logan's Run project to come back, and then on Friday it'll be our regular scheduled OSR Reddit roundup. So something to look forward to. But yeah, give me your comments. I got a voicemail now. If you want to send me a voicemail through Anchor, you can do that as well. I'll just pop that link in there, and it's also in the show notes. Have a great rest of your day, night, weekend, whenever you're watching or listening to this. Game on. Talk to you later, everybody.